Champions have a heart of excellent service and humility. And if we look at 1 Samuel 17:15 to 20, we look at David tonight. Look at this young man's heart. And it says, "But David went and returned from Saul to feed his father's sheep at Bethlehem. And the Philistine drew near morning and evening and presented himself 40 days. And Jesse said unto David his son, Take now for thy brethren an ephah of this parched corn and these 10 loaves, and run to the camp of thy brethren, and carry these 10 cheeses unto the captain of their 1,000, and look how thy brethren fare, and take their pledge. Now Saul and they and all the men of Israel were in the valley of Elah, fighting with the Philistines, and David rose up early in the morning and left the sheep with a keeper, and took and went, as Jesse had commanded him. And he came to the trench as the host was going forth to fight, and shouted for the battle." Now let's put this into context here. This is when we are at the stage now where Goliath was intimidating the children of God. We have to remember that David had already been anointed king. Samuel had already anointed him and said, "Look, young man, you're going to be the next king." He had also already gone to the palace to serve Saul. Remember when Saul was having that problem with the evil spirit on him? They had already selected him. He had already gone to the palace. And when the evil spirit was on Saul, he played with his hand, and Saul was relieved. So he had already gone to Saul, serving as Saul's armor bearer. But in the spirit of service and humility, when his father came to ask him to take some bread and cheese to his brother, he didn't say, "Who are you speaking to? Don't you know that I have already been anointed king? Don't you know that I was Saul's armor bearer?" No. There was no rudeness. He went. He accepted the challenges. He left his sheep with a keeper. He didn't say, "Look, I have already been armor bearer to Saul, so I am not keeping the sheep anymore. That's beneath me." That's some of our attitudes. I mean, where he was anointed king. Some of us are anointed. People have laid hands on us. We know the anointing is there, the laying hand, this is our destiny. But in spite of all that, we see the humility of David here, accepting a simple task of delivering bread and cheese to his brother. And he had no attitude. He didn't just leave the sheep anywhere. He left them with a keeper. He safeguarded his sheep. He didn't think that it was beneath him now to be looking after sheep. But he went and he shouted for the battle. So he had an excellent spirit. His spirit was excellent. His attitude was excellent. He had a spirit of humility. And that's what I see. I think that's why David is such a champion and had so many successes, and why God chose him is his heart. This heart is a jewel here. And this is a rare quality we see these days. And I just want to encourage you today, if you want to be a champion, this is one of the attributes, to have a heart of service, not to think of yourself up there. This task is beneath you. Anywhere that you can serve, you serve. Serve with diligence, serve with a great spirit, and serve with excellence. Remember that this young man had already been anointed king, but this was not too low for him to go and do. And do you know that God used this mission to connect him to his destiny? This mission, because when he went, he saw the giant Goliath, and the Spirit of God rose up in him, and he said, "I will go and fight this giant." You never know how God will connect you to your destiny and exalt you. God made David famous by him just delivering bread and cheese. Because he didn't have an attitude, because he didn't think it was beneath him, because of his spirit of humility and excellence, God elevated him just by obeying his father and going on this mission. God elevated him to be the king of Israel.